Well, joining me now is Global Affairs Analyst Calvin Dark. He joins me live from Washington, D.C. Good to see you, Calvin, and thanks for your time. Now, President Macron's three-nation tour of Africa to Cameroon, Benin, and Guinea-Bissau is his first diplomatic trip outside of Europe. That's since winning re-election. Now, help us here, if you will. Does this reflect how Africa is high on the list of priorities for the former colonial power?
Yes, I think it does. And I think it's for at least two very specific reasons. One is, as you know, Cameroon recently signed a defense agreement with Russia. And so France does not want, France's influence is continuing to wane. And it doesn't want it to wane even more in, former colonial countries. So it's going to counter the Russian influence. And I think the timing is key because just as Emmanuel Macron is doing his three-country tour in Africa, Foreign Minister of Russia, Lavrov, is touring different countries in Africa. So I think that's one of the main reasons. The other reason is for security. As we know, as the French are pulling out of Mali, they need to develop partnerships of trust so that they can continue fighting terror and fighting instability. But given some of the anti-French sentiment in the region, those are things that aren't going to happen in one day or in one tour. So these are things that have to build up. So I think there's at least two reasons why Macron is prioritizing Africa in his second term.
And Calvin, let's throw in the issue of rights. If you look at these countries he's visiting, they've all been criticized by activists owing to the rights records. Do you see France championing what I call inclusive peace talks to end the nearly 6-year conflict, devastating especially Cameroon's Anglophone region?
I think that can probably be one of the most lasting things from this trip is if Macron can convince Cameroon's President Biya to think about his legacy, to try to get to a peaceful resolution of the internal conflicts, but also to set up and be transparent that there will be a peaceful democratic transition of power for the almost 90-year-old president. And so I think that is something that he can definitely do. And when it comes to human rights, unfortunately, you find a lot of countries, and mine is the same, United States, that they put other human rights issues on the back burner when they're dealing with more pressing economic and security issues, as Biden did in the Middle East a couple of weeks ago. So I imagine Macron will probably do the same.
Before I let you go, let's now talk more about some security matters that also affect some of these countries, looking at the Sahel countries currently battling offshoots of the Islamic State, turning to Russia and its mercenaries for support. Do you see Macron using the opportunity to reinforce what many have called historic bonds?
Yes. Now, along with those historic bonds, there's obviously a lot of anti-French sentiment. But I think that, would be it economic or security, those are ties that he wants to continue. But I also think when you touched on the mercenaries from Russia, that, that was happening in Mali, the Wagner group, I think that Macron is probably very well aware that if Russia is entering partnerships on security with Cameroon, the same thing could happen there. So they're being very careful about that. So they have partners to really fight these terrorist groups and offshoots.
Calvin Dark, many thanks for your time as always.
Thank you.